So I thought I'd make another vlog since I'm in the vlogging mood before I go into another one of my big slumps for like a couple of months. But I wanted to talk today about how I never wear watches or rings. I never really liked them. I used to wear a watch when I was in elementary school because my friends and I thought it was cool. One of my friends actually collected watches after a while, and so he got his second watch and his third watch, and you know, a couple of years' time, he had like 10 watches. One day he actually brought it to a summer day camp and just like covered it up with his shirt, but he had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 watches, you know, and we used to joke like that day only. He never did it again, but he was like, let's see, you want to know what time it is? I could even have it voiced to me. I could watch TV on this one. I could tell you what temperature it is on this one, and such, and I could calculate some equations on this one. He had all of these watches with like one special function about each watch, and so he collected them. I think he still has all of them, but his final collection before that fad went out was around 12 watches. And I used to wear a watch until about halfway through middle school maybe, but then I just finally decided that I don't like having anything on my hands or my fingers. So one day my dad brought home this like sort of cheap opening calculator. It looked like a very, very small laptop. It was about, you know, maybe that, and it just flipped open. There would be like a screen that looked like high tech and stuff, and it was like all black, and on the bottom was like a calculator pad. It had about, you know, 12 buttons or 16 buttons or something, you know, on off switch 1 through 9, a few plus and minus buttons, and some memory buttons. And it also served as a clock, a world clock, and it had like, you know, the time zones on the bottom of the screen. It was just a normal screen. It was like one of those digital screens with that only display numbers, and you know, maybe a few extra things like the alarm icon and stuff. But it was like a free thing that he got from his company that he used to work with. We had a summer picnic every year that I used to go to. That was back in middle school as well. And so I just started carrying that in my pocket. At the time, I didn't even carry a wallet. You know, I had like one small pouch in my backpack, and I used to carry like 50 cents to $1.50. That was like what I carried. I didn't carry hardly any money when I was in middle school. Yeah, anyway. So ever since I started carrying that, I stopped using my watch. And then one day this thing stopped working. And by the way, everybody wanted one when they saw it. I was like, that's so cool. I got it for free from my dad's summer picnic from his company. And after a while, it was just, you know, some cheap toy almost. It really worked cool, but it wasn't built to last. So it stopped working after maybe a year or two. You know, I replaced the battery a couple times, but eventually it just went out. So after that, I just didn't have any means to tell time. For quite a while I did this, and I got really used to, I have perfect vision, or very close to perfect vision. I don't know what it is in America, because you guys have a different, you guys, I live in USA, by the way, for those people who don't know. We have a different system where 20/20 is considered like pretty much very good vision or perfect vision, whatever it is. But in Japan, we have a system that goes from about 0 to 2, and 2.0 is considered perfect vision. And the 2.0 is the test for it is a lot harder than the 20/20 test, which I passed like in 20 seconds. I could see everything super, super clearly. Whereas the 2.0 vision test, I also passed, but I could tell it was much harder to see that item. By the way, sometimes my friends get freaked out at how well I can see. I have really spectacular vision, if I do say so myself. So I got used to like looking at other people's like clocks. You know, I could sit on the bus and look at a person across me, and if they just were kind of, you know, hanging their watch sort of in a certain way, then I could really tell what time it was based on that. Or, you know, just looking at the bus, the scrolling time, or if I went to a mall, there usually wasn't any clocks, but I would know where to go where there was an actually an accurate clock, or the person working would be kind of, you know, wearing a watch, especially if they worked at the watch store or like, you know, some kind of jewelry store with watches. By the way, did you know some watches are like crazy expensive? Why would you want to wear a watch that's that expensive? It's made out of gold. It's just going to be heavier. It's obviously a status icon. But I'm digressing again. So, the only thing that I've gotten recently is I've gotten this one ring from an ex-girlfriend. kind of looks like this, and it has me and her initials, and I still have it. You know, there's no point in throwing it away. But you know, I got it from her, and I was like, I don't, thanks. You know, I wore it out of being a good sport, but I told her I just don't like to wear rings that much. So, guess it looks okay. What do you guys think? I don't know. I kind of think it's very plain, but it's like the only ring I have, and I have this one ring trick where I use well, basically it's a magic trick that I'm not going to demonstrate here, but it's pretty neat. I mean, you could figure it out if you thought about it, but it looks really convincing. And so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. And also, since I live in San Francisco, if you came today, you would hear the Blue Angels. And those are basically like jet planes, you know, really, really fast. I think they're military planes. I don't know exactly what they are. But if you looked out my window long enough, you would eventually see them fly by. They're just making a huge amount of noise for the Fleet Week Air Show. They're just doing the practice. They do the actual show around Saturday or Sunday, 3 o'clock-ish they start. And, you know, you'll hear them throughout the week, starting on Thursdays usually. In fact, there they go right now. I don't know if you guys are catching this on the camera, but you know, that sort of